Oh. Yes, let's see what we have here. Peace bless you. All right, let me know what you have. Last week, there's some stuff to build on this week. So let the class fill up online at least. Wise you, anyone else, if you have any questions, let me know. I like to start the class with anybody's questions. We catch up. I really only have like one particular subject I want to get into, but I'd like to hear what people have to say in general. Also, anything that I discussed last week, because I had such a conversation with the God in the classroom with Kasim when he was here. I feel like that may have derailed you all to ask questions and stuff. Okay. I definitely can do both. You know what I mean? Plus, these classrooms are not very filled right now. So, Quatis, peace. Self I build, peace to God. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what you got, Quatis. Excuse me. About to read Quatis. I'm just trying. Trying not to sneeze again. Of course, it starts when I get online. It's time to do the class. I start sneezing. All right. Quatis, you said in its simplest form, I think knowledge and our understanding is extracting meaning from thought and experience to help us to become and have a sense of life worth living. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I wanted to explore my thoughts to see where I could be wrong and ask for help in getting a better insight on this degree. I have 2 bills on it. All right, that's Peace Malik. I'm very happy to share those books. You said knowledge, understanding, albeit born to culture, freedom, aligning my thoughts with my vision. Interesting. To create a meaningful way of life. I don't think that vision is as way off as you think. That would probably be the weak point of what we would probably think would be incorrect. But we always have our understanding actually is in many respects is a vision. You know what I mean? I'll show you. I'll show you how. Right? When we look at anything, right? We have our own perception of things when we look at things. There is an essential outline understanding that involves us in the way that we perceive things, right? We try to do it and assume that we are looking for knowledge all the time. But I'll give you an example. In this nation, we say that the babies are the greatest, right? So usually when we make decisions, the children are the best part, right? So that means that our understanding is based on the children being the best part. So certain understandings become frameworks of how we look at everything else. We show and prove that the original man is God. Doesn't mean that we won't add more proofs to it. We show and prove and we bear witness that the children are the greatest. And, we could actually give more than emotional reasons, right? We give more than emotional reasons to it. However, even though you could keep adding knowledge to prove those things, they still are something that we bear witness to, that we have studied long enough to be an understanding. So it becomes the framework by which we look at other things, right? So that isn't incorrect. You know what I mean? That isn't incorrect. It's actually interesting. However, I feel like when you had written it there, it becomes the part where you think might be incorrect. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You doing it by Zoom?
I do, God. Yeah. Both. We do it both now. So we're online with the students online, and then when the students come here, I interact them and I merge them. So since the COVID, I started to do them online, but then now I have students that aren't even near a law school in Mecca. So now I just merge them both. You know what I mean?
Right. That's cool. So you doing it right now?
Indeed. I'm online right now.
Okay. I heard your voice. I said, "Oh yeah, he's inside." I was saying I didn't see him.
Right.
Who's that?
I have no idea, God. I have no idea. All right, so I may have jumped here. Where was I in this thing?
I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, that's peace, God. Yeah, so aligning the thoughts and really the new ideas, the new truth that are being explored with the vision that you have. The vision is based on the understanding of knowledge that you previously had, that you verified. And ultimately to create that meaningful way of life. You also added that the purpose of an idea, knowledge, revealed, and how one's lives based on that revelation. How one lives. I read it all wrong. Let's rewind again. The purpose of an idea revealed and how one lives based on that revelation. That's more of a working insight, not really a build. It's more like a working with the math. See, not everything is a build that you would give out, but that's more of a working idea. So I don't consider it wrong per se. You know what I mean? It just has its place. Knowledge, understanding is neurological as much as it is spiritual. Of course, let's see what you said before I jump on that. Neurological because thoughts are living things and they affect our being and our way of life.
You got it left.
That's P.E.A.C.E. Where is it, God? That's P.E.A.C.E. And they affect our being and our way of life. Spiritual because it is basically asking that why we are here and what we are living for question. Okay, good. I'm with that definition. I'm okay with using the word spiritual as long as you give it parameters of what it means, though. And in this case, though, I do get it, though. I think it isn't always really beneficial to throw away a word. Sometimes a word can be used if you use it the right way. You know what I mean? Establishing and pursuing a purpose in our life and will bring about a culture that powerfully impacts our own selves and the way we build. That's not bad, Curtis. Yeah. I see why you feel muddled because there's so much interacting. Like there's a lot of thoughts, ideas, of ways you could express it. You know what I mean? Definitely came to a lot of ideas here. It seems as culture is the measure of our vision, which is established by our thoughts and goals. Not bad. I like that vein right there because you're getting mathematical with it, though. Once you start thinking of measurements and ways of measuring, then you're really taking mathematics out into a very measured logic, which is can only lead to more insights. The biological benefits of having a purpose seem to be enormous. Psychologists have said that people with a purpose appear to have better cognitive functions, longevity, and cardiovascular fitness, sleep, and moods, though they may not have studied any revolutionaries. Right, because it's about goals. It's about goals. You know what I mean? The truth is that the way we deal with this, we're teaching a science that says that we create the reality we're in. We create the creation we're in, and the creation itself fulfills in some manifestation and inspires us again. So that means that if someone has no direction, meaning no ideas that they're about to fulfill, they can only plunder intellectually. That's peace, God. They can only plunder, intellectually, mentally, and definitely physically, because they have no aim. And the truth is that none of this exists without some type of aim and some kind of direction, right? Eventually, there is a direction, okay? All right. And they don't have to study revolutionaries, though, because revolutionaries, revolutionaries aren't the only persons with like very, very, distinct goals and stuff. What this has done is made me more aware of my limits and boundaries and helps me find ways to respond to them. My challenge currently is the balance of work and personal development. My job involves a lot of travel and preparation. This throws off the momentum I start. But I have a deeper respect for men with families and very busy work lives. Sometimes the actual thing is that, like, whether you have a family or not, there is something is gonna hamper that. Something is gonna get in the way. You know what I'm saying? Usually, people that find something that they love to do, they realize that they're even more than one thing that they love to do. Okay, so there's always some kind of thing. There's never a complete freedom to actually do everything you want. You know what I mean? There's always pitfalls in it. You know what I mean? So if you think of it that way, every single routine that results in excellence still needs to be advanced, still needs to be updated and stuff. It's like training and stuff. You can find a perfect training though, but when you look at it over time, The truth is that you're adding little tidbits and changing things and fixing things all the time. You know what I'm saying? Right? Certainly the case with me. You know, I'm always adding and changing things all the time. All right. Just give me a minute, okay? 1 minute. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. All right, that's where we're at. Okay, so this is good stuff, Kratis. Malik, you kept it simple in there and really direct and succinct. Awareness of my comprehension helps my mastery. So that's awareness, knowledge of my comprehension. Understanding helps my mastery. And mastery, you're seeing as knowledge, understanding, because it's the knowledge, understanding letter is master. It's good stuff. Now, what would that entail, right? Right? What would that entail? The knowledging of your comprehension, right? Is it what you understand already, or is it the nature of how you get to understand it? You know, the type of understanding, which is true, the type of understanding that you tend to attain, right? Just so I feel like I'm sticking my head in the computer. I'm not in the mood for that. All right. All right. I finally got a table that is very, you know what I mean? I can't even enjoy relaxing here. All right, let's see. But this is really good stuff, Quatis. But yeah, that balance, okay. Okay. Self I build, you said through my experience. Through my experience, have learned to gather facts of which I now am able to use in order to assist me in better comprehending the rhyme and reasons to my daily activities, habits, and ways. All right, all right. That's good. Um, that's true. All right, quite a bit of contact here. All right, all right. A lot of good stuff here. Because it skip scrolled and thrust me ahead. Yes, the Pedagogy of the Oppressed is a great read. Yeah, very, very insightful. Um, Paulo Freire, definitely influenced, definitely influenced a lot of my understanding. You know what I mean? Like I read him very early in the years that I started to teach. Um, and this idea of the nature of allowing the people to make their own decisions by teaching them, as opposed to just indoctrinating what you think is the truth, is a very profound concept. You know what I mean? And it's something that sometimes when the gods build, they in their own minds they know it's true, so they demand. The truth is that's not the way you teach, though. You cannot have perceptions. I was building one of the great gods, a student of mine who's doing great things as always. And I told him that this will always be a problem. This concept of demanding or expecting things out of the student. You know what I'm saying? There are things that we demand out of the student, but the prophecy of the greatness that we see in them, the more particular it gets for the teacher, the more that the teacher is straying away into their own frustration. You know, and a lot of times that's what happens when we see students with great potential. You know what I mean? We see that they could do so many things, and then we know exactly the capabilities that they can fulfill, and that sets up expectations. Though it hampers not. It doesn't always necessarily hamper the quality of the teaching, but it certainly hampers the stress levels of the teacher because they become unrealistic. They are not your goals. And our duty as poor righteous teacher isn't always, and I don't think it is at all, to actually define the goals of the student. Now, that's very hard to say because we are teaching them a truth that if they teach it, we expect them to teach it true, and we expect them to teach it right and exact. And if they don't teach it right and exact, then we know that there's a problem. And that becomes, that has many pitfalls as well. And I'll probably get into it in a little bit. Malik, you asked it, is spiritual religious? Peace 793. All right, peace to the God. All right. It depends. Again, it's not a clear cut word. It's not a clear cut word. People define it their own way. And spiritual usually is like a fancy way of just being religious but unorganized, of your own creation, like your own visions of the mystery God, the mystery machine, the mysterious energy, and so it could take on all types of oddities. So spiritual is a very flaky word. Doesn't matter about its etymology or anything like that. You know what I mean? All of that is irrelevant. RP peace. You said peace. Knowledge is symbolic to the black man, who is the foundation. Understanding is symbolic to the black child. Culture is one way of life, and freedom is self-reliance. How I see it is. Well, let me challenge you, RP. That is what we are taught. That how can what we get taught and proven be how you see it? It just means that you are in agreement with the teaching, because you didn't make that up. You know what I'm saying? You didn't make that up. So it's not your understanding. It's an insight and a presentation of the thought that you agree with, and a metaphor that is in line with how you see things. You know what I mean? So if someone's asking your understanding on what makes it unique that you could add on, you know what I mean? So what you know, what's special that you could add on? And in these kind of situations, this is where, like, the live situation, like, what have you shared? What have you done? What are moments when you build a knowledge, understanding? It doesn't have to be off the head here. It could always off the head. It could be always in there, you know, and things that you have used, you know. Knowledge Allah 120 piece. Raul Rodriguez. Wow, that's crazy, because I got a letter from a brother named Rodriguez too. That happens to be my honorable last name as well. But you're new to this and you're loving it. But that's peace. For you, Raul, if you want to learn and introduce yourself here, who you are, things like that. Remember, everybody's a mystery to me. I don't know you unless you show yourself. Okay. RP, more add-on. As the man of my family, Reese, you said, my job is to make sure that my children know my culture, which is self. So I self-love the master and live according to righteousness, to live with morals, and also to rely on oneself. Okay, so to rely on oneself, that is the most detail that you've given, right? And this is not necessarily for right now that you give it in the class. I'm not. That's not what I'm asking here. That's up to you. When we tell people to live by morals, what do those morals entail? People always say that, right and wrong, but a lot of the stuff that is said to be right is very wrong. You know what I mean? It has no basis, though. It has basis in assumption. You know, so that's also something to look at. You know? Anyone know what happened to Dark Kim's life? You know, I have not noticed. I really, yeah, until somebody said that, I haven't noticed that he hasn't been on here. I don't know. Let's see if we could ask around, find out. No, but the God is always building. Whatever it is, I'm gonna say this. I have been teaching this class every Thursday for the last 21 years. When there are times when a teacher of a said class all of a sudden is not there, please understand how difficult it is to be consistent. You know what I'm saying? And the truth is that we could say that, you know, waiting for Dark Kim to add on when he can, and many of you know, are learning from him. There is so much that he has shared on these videos. I don't think anyone would need anything else to be able to start their journey and find a teacher and actually get this knowledge. I really do think that. And to have it archived, to be able to go back and do the knowledge to, it just. Okay. Absolutely, absolutely. It's peace. When you say how it is and then I explain later, that's peace. That's peace. Ah, Raul, you sent me emails now or before? Again, I always tell people if you sent me an email and I didn't answer, it's okay to send it again. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to send it again. All right. And Ro, I think I remember those. Just forward them to me again so that they're on the top of my pile, is what I'm trying to say. Um, I get a lot of emails, and sometimes I don't get to answer all of them, though. And when I look, I don't always find everything. Um, I'm not blaming any of you students for that. I'm just, that's, I just want it to be positively used so that way you could learn how to pester your teacher or who you want to learn things from. Yeah, he's watching some game shows and now he's, I don't know. Yeah, Salva, you said I agree in regards to Dark King's immense contribution to these classes. It definitely helped spark me. Likewise, yourself. Um, yeah, I'm saying that because when I got knowledge, that's Big Bro, and I spent a lot of time with him as much as I could, and I had to just hang out. You know what I mean? I had to hang out to try to get some of the stuff, that you guys get just off him, just musing. Um, Absolutely, knowledge Allah. He's definitely, yeah, he's a pillar. He's a pillar. Quatis, you said, is ability more of a matter of understanding or knowledge? Well, that's good. That's a good question. Well, as opposed to what though? Because there are aspects of knowledge that are innate, things that you know, right? For example, your body keeps working, things like this. But the greater the talent, it will need to have understanding as it goes on. You know what I'm saying? The great athletes, the great martial arts, they need to have some type of understanding of how they're doing what they're doing before they can continue to let it become, very effortless and, and, and natural. You know what I mean? You know, I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination like anything else. You know what I mean? Yeah, infinite mind. Yeah, that's a good point. There are two definitions to ability I can think of on the top of my head. Okay. Well, you're surprising me. I don't even know RPVs. Well, what's the deal with the show and prove? The truth is that I just come and teach my class, though. I have not uh, asked any questions about anything else. You know what I mean? Okay, Raul. Okay. Yeah, you see, it came in here and it was already started. So I had started, I just didn't get to it. All right. All right. All right. So expect something as soon as possible. Infinite Mind, you said one. Is that someone is skilled, capable, trained in doing something? So that he has to do with, so that has to do with knowledge itself. But the second definition is based on drive or desire or means. Yeah. Yeah. Well, both of those could be nourished, though, but we wouldn't define someone's ability by their drive, though. You know? Of course, Franz Fanon. Yeah. I don't immediately recommend Franz Fanon because he's a hard read. But his works are crucial to, you know, understanding colonialism, oppression, and all. So I definitely bear witness to his works. Wretched of the Earth is essential reading. Black Skin, White Mask, that as well. You know what I mean? But they're a little bit harder, you know. So it's definitely wouldn't be on my beginner book list, but certainly something that is in the collection. I read those books years ago. It's probably yeah, honestly, probably 20 plus years ago that I read this because I read this even before I got knowledge of self. So yeah. Yeah, if somebody just Self-I Build was just mentioned that he was reading Pedagogy of the Oppressed, though. Yeah, all those books I read years ago. So and they, especially Pedagogy of the Oppressed, became a real foundation of the way I develop my pedagogy myself. You know, and my teaching techniques per se. You know, definitely. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's probably fair, but it's all linked together. You know, like you do a search for Pedagogy of the Oppressed, somebody's gonna pitch Franz Fanon, though, so they're all in the same league. Wise you said today's master being just and true, gained through experience and examination of what is revealed with the skill and technique to think clearly, of ways to show one's love for peace and happiness. Okay, I see it. You guys are very abstract today, right? That's why I always say, well, how would you apply that? You know, how would you live that? What does that mean, just and true? You know, I don't know. What would that be? Right? Because just and true really just implies that you continue on doing things, right? And when we look at the lessons, you know, the devil continues daily. So, you know, to do devilishment. So the devil continues daily to do devilishment. So aren't they just and true? That's their reality. They're consistent. They have to be well defined. What makes something right? You know? What makes something correct? This is like the class where I talked about knowledge. You know, I went through the exercise of what is knowledge, you know? Yes. If we look at knowledge understanding, the knowledge understanding is really like a process. You know what I mean? They are the bookends of the process that lead to our way of life. There is always has to be some type of purpose revealed out of every piece of important knowledge that we gain. Is there some way to apply it? Is there some way to use it? Is there something revealed from its use? So it to say that nothing is really mastered if knowledge is just left still. if there is no understanding of the knowledge, then there is no real mastery. I don't even know if the show and prove is going to happen. So I don't even know anything about it. So, if it does, I'll be there. I haven't. I missed one show and prove ever since I've gotten knowledge. I missed one show and prove, and that was because my youngest had like a show that she was doing for the dance school that she was in. You know what I mean? And show and prove is about the babies though, and my baby was doing the show in a different place, and it wasn't in Harriet Tubman. So that's where I was. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's where I was. That's P.E.A.C.E. Edgar. Kareem, you said today's math is knowledge, understanding, all being born to culture. The more you know will come prior to and lead to more, the more you understand, which will come prior to the culture of freeing the dome from the state of unawareness. Okay, I don't know if there's more to that. Okay. From the state of unawareness and navigate through the tides of life to the best of our abilities. Yeah, I see it. I don't see anything wrong there. No. I think one of the things is that with supreme mathematics, we're getting good at defining or at stating the desire to have principle, ethics, morals, but we're not using the mathematics. It needs to be used, and this is no knock on anyone here. I'm saying the goal, rhetorically. It needs to be used where you could define what actually is the moral. Life situations, what you would do, or what you would not do, and why mathematically. So what in the math shows proves the what you would do and what you would not do. Right? That's peace self I build. You said there's a flyer for the event. It says it in the Allah School yard. Oh shit! I just came in the building though. I didn't even look at the yard. I'm sure it is. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. If it happens, I'll be there. Okay. Okay, 7930 said partner is catching up on another device. Okay. All right, self I build. That's peace. Well, brother, I think that's where writing to yourself comes in handy. Now that makes sense here, Kareem, right? But the definition of our reality of principles, morals, and ethics, we're already in this, we're already past the state where we could just state that they're needed. They have to be defined and applied and analyzed and overtly. You know what I mean? I'm teaching here all this time. Nobody's asking me to keep them quiet. You know, I have to take real life situations and show how that applies. You know what I mean? And there'll be moments that, you know, like the decisions you make, as particular as they are. You know what I mean? He currently said no low today. What are you talking about? There's low right here. What you think? There's no low? It's a little pony. You can't see a pony right there? And these pants is polo, right? And the boots is polo. And the hat is polo. Right? Oh yeah. And the jacket is polo, right? And the camo sweater is polo. It's all there. Just a little bit more casual today. Yep, always there, always there. I'm just messing with you, Kareem. Now look, the situations, you know what I'm saying? Situations, like for example, you go through mathematics and say, why is studying, for example, ask yourself this question: why is studying the knowledge of self crucial, and why is sharing it, learning it well enough to not just live it but also share it is crucial, right? These are things that have to be analyzed. You know what I mean? Right? Definitely analyzed. Well, Arisa, as far as memorization or just like trying to get an understanding, because some of the more simple degrees have befuddled me more to try to get an understanding than some of the harder degrees. You know what I mean? And I would say, like, you know, some of the long ones, I don't think the longer degrees trip me up more because they just took more time, but they didn't trip me up. You know what I mean? They didn't trip me up at all. You know what I mean? I think the difficulty is, yeah, memorization. Let me think. I guess I would have to say, like, just thinking. Let's see, 1 to 14. I think many of the problems of memorization is the grammar. Sometimes if you're grammar hawking, it loses its flow if you're looking for certain words to be said and that they're not said, or that the run-on sentences could, you know, they cut up your flow. Also, too, some of the lessons are redundant, so they cause confusion. So you end up, you know, muddling them all together. Um, so some of the degrees in the 1 to 40, mid 20s, not the late 20s, but the mid 20s, you know, those, as far as a particular degree, I remember, like after the immense work I did with the 9th degree and having worked on the 4th degree, the 10th degree led to a lot of confusion. So it I actually had I remember having difficulty memorizing the 10th degree in the 1 to 14, and it was because of the intense amount of work I had to do to memorize the 9th degree. For some reason, when I memorized both of those degrees, they weren't meshing together. You know what I mean? They weren't meshing together. And what happened was that I would get stuck and start messing up one or the other. You know what I mean? I remember that. So a lot of times it's in the wording. You know what I mean? there's a lot of repetition in 120, but there's also a lot of awkwardness in 120's grammar. So, those are the things that would stump me, As I was going along through it, the degrees that stumped me as far as understanding, that didn't, or like I don't understand it at all, that didn't really stump me, cause a difficulty in memorizing. Because I had confidence that Knowledge Me was going to teach me, what it meant, and he did. Yeah, ninth degree in the 1 to 14 is a little, yeah, the rhythm, and once I got that rhythm, I don't know, just went weird with the next one. Yeah, 20 seconds, 20. I remember, Prince used to, hey, I forgot which degree it was. There was one degree in the early 20s, and he used to hate, though. He used to always get it messed up. I forgot which one it was. I think it was the 24th. I'm not sure. You know? But when he said that, it made me feel better because then I was like, wow, like even, he has some of the issues that we have after we memorize them. Like, some of them, that they're not your favorite degrees, I say, you know what I mean? Like, I think it was, definitely the 23rd degree and the 24th. Yeah. Indeed, Reese. Indeed, yeah. Indeed, you're definitely in Prince's line by way of Joaquin. Yeah. Yeah, these guys are really. Born Reality, I'm glad you're in here. I want to build about something that, and really take it to everyone here so that way we can find their role. Born Reality, you're crucial to that. Um, Give me a moment, and when I come back, I will get into it. Okay. All right, I am back. All right. You know, let me see if there's anything. Oh, Quatis wrote something before I get into my thing here. Well, when it's quoting a degree that is grammatically incorrect, can they quote it in a way that is grammatically correct and just take note of the error? Nah, that sounds like it might help you, but it actually won't. You know why? One thing I will say, technically, Elijah Muhammad's grammar is consistently incorrect. Also, too, they're like you got to treat them the same as like a mantra. You quote it the same because it's your understanding that you're focusing on being unique, not the degree. In the history that I have known this, and this is with the elders I've spoken to, that I've been taught by, as well as my experience confirming it. When someone works to fix the degree, what happens is they usually have very little understanding. You know what I mean? Because they're focusing on fixing something that someone else did. We know a lot, and if you try to fix the 120, for example, there's so many mistakes in it. You're basically making a new document, you know? So you do your best to have bad grammar. That's why reading the Elijah books, reading Message to the Black Man, reading The Fall of America, that helps. All of them. Anything you get your hand on from Elijah is going to give you that swiftness. You know what I mean? So it's really not helpful at all. Really not helpful at all. You spend more time trying to fix someone else's thing and you're not fixing yours. You have very little understanding. You know what I mean? And plus, then now you're not in accord because what is everybody doing? You know what I mean? Right? Because no matter how bad Elijah's grammar is, the majority, it's near correct. All of the ideas are expressed. And so in that respect, the grammar is not incorrect. It isn't leading to flaw in the teaching. It's only tripping you up. You know what I mean? So you take those bumps. You know what I mean? You take those bumps. You know? Yeah. Peace, God.
King Justice is you and him is the only one here.
All right. Reese, you said, I would say after you quote, give you understand when it's not a holy book, alleged made mistakes. We need to preserve that. It's funny you said that because we need to preserve what he said. Then let's be honest here. Let's keep it real. That it is holy in many respects, though, because we're not changing it, though. We're not diluting and tampering it, though. You know what I mean? So we are keeping the lesson holy, though. You know what I mean? It's not holy, but we're going to preserve it the way it is. That means that we're keeping the lesson holy, though. So just look at the oddity of what we doing here. We're on some shit 5%. Man. But Kareem, I'm back at the school regularly. Yeah. You know what I mean? Kareem, the messenger said he was a baby in the knowledge back then, and if given those questions again, would write volumes of books. Yeah, and he probably could. You know what I mean? He probably could. Yeah. Reese, there's nothing wrong with seeing certain things that are done and created as holy, though. Like you wouldn't remix Paid in Full. You don't need to fix Cuban links. I write things, and if I think that they're worthy, I wouldn't fix it. You know what I'm saying? Or they just let them go. I wouldn't want to fix. You know what I mean? And in my creative work, I corrupt the grammar willingly so much that if people tried to fix it, it would ruin the whole thing. So, you know what I mean? Some things, we do create holy things. You know what I mean? We do create holy things. There's nothing wrong with that. BC Rome, peace. Now, I want to speak about something, right? Not everyone that gets taught becomes a 5%er. Although these people would end up having the knowledge of self. So, like I said, to be 5% means that you go out there and you're teaching people whatever forms you have. In today's world, going out there means whatever forms you have, right? So what forms do you have? You know what I mean? And just as a pause, you said editors irated by bad grammar. I don't know if irated is a word. See? I never heard that. Oh, irritated. You mean irritated? Yeah, they. You know what? I've been an editor of many publications. It's not the bad grammar that throws people off all the time. It's that they're not communicating any kind of idea. It corrupts the idea. So, you know what I mean? So it's not necessarily bad grammar, though. It's the lack of communication. That's the communication that's lost. You know, because other people have bad grammar and it'll be perfectly coherent. But anyway, why am I saying this about being a 5%, right? I'll get to it though, and I don't know if Born Reality is here, right? Some of this is particularly from, and I'll build with him later about it, right? But when we get the knowledge of self, and I teach it freely, so the people that I've taught over the years, they could deal with it or they could not deal with it. You know what I mean? They could embrace it and they could use it for their own reality, and it doesn't always mean that they're going to go out and teach. You know what I'm saying? And that is a duty of a civilized person. But that's what the degree says. But it's not the way real life works when you go out teaching this. You know what I'm saying? And the truth is that people really are really free once they get it. And they don't have the obligation to do anything. They have an obligation if they know it and they use it. If they're going to have a better life, then they have to use it. But in my history, not everyone goes out there and teaches many. They try to share it. They let people know what they have. They introduce it to their families. Like, this is what I'm on. This is what I'm doing. These are some of the things that I'm thinking. I see things differently. What have you, right? For certain individuals that get the knowledge, whether they be the early generations, but also to generations now, who you are particularly you can often be someone that gets this knowledge and puts you in a unique position to be the only one to get it in that particular cipher. You know what I mean? So what happens is this, right? As a 5%er, you're not just using it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You're actually trying to share it in some kind of way so people can get closer to it. Use some of the jewels that you learned for someone else, right? Now, what happens is this, right? When a God gets the knowledge, they're often thrust with the goal, with the duty. When we talk about a duty, is because the people that need it most aren't always the ones that they feel comfortable teaching or that they want to teach. Okay? So for example, right? When I got knowledge of self, I always had the goal of being a teacher, and I was groomed for this here. You know what I mean? I literally was. People knew, the elders that taught me, particularly announced me, they knew I could teach from the moment that I came in, right? So it was definitely a goal and a willing goal of mine to teach. But that doesn't mean that everything that I teach, though, is exactly what I wanted to have to share immediately. There's a lot of other deeper ideas that I wanted to share, and that wasn't the immediate thing to share, right? Here's what I mean. I get the knowledge. I'm coming from a Puerto Rican background. Then I have to teach those other Puerto Ricans. I have to teach those who don't know what a Puerto Rican is, right? On both frameworks. I have to show and prove that the so-called Puerto Rican, this original man, our lineage, what it is, how it relates, and how we are the true and living God. So this is work, right? After a long time, though, this could be very redundant. And you're like, I'm done. I already did it. I did this. I've already shown and proven I did it. But whether a lesson is finished as far as being taught is not up to you, the holder of that ability to teach. That's where the duty comes in. You don't just get to teach, though, what you feel like teaching, and not teach what you get tired of teaching. I've already made my claim. I've already showed and proved who I was. If the concept persists, then you have to persist. Like, for example, when Inf Mega was putting up all the videos of me, man, I've been teaching here for years already. Over easily 15 years already. And then some cornball on YouTube wants to go, oh man, that man is teaching, he's not even original though. How did we let these people in our school? And you already sound stupid, because where the hell were you these 15 years I've been here though? What quality control have you done, to make sure someone like me isn't there? They've done nothing, right? And it says more. So do I say, listen, I've taught already. I've already proven that people like me is already the true and living this, that. No, that's not. No. I'm willing to get in there again and go at it again. Share it again. Because every time there is someone ignorant, every time there's not, you have someone to teach, or you have someone to use to teach someone else. A lot of the people that have been rude to me about certain things or try to cause division, they have been used as a tool for me to teach someone else. You know what I mean? Let me show you how wrong this troll is, or whatever, right? I'll use an example. I say this to say this though, right? And this for students like Born Reality and stuff, who wrote a great build that I published in the 5% Media. Very long, very, very good. He worked hard on it. You know what I mean? A lot of drafts that he handed in. Worked hard on it. I know it for 100% fact. You know what I mean? Hell, when he was writing everything in all caps though, like it was a damn text message. You know what I mean? But here's the thing, right? His truth as advocating that he is the true and living God, per se, right? Born Reality, if you're hearing this, right? Being an Italian man is something that isn't going to go away when he teaches it right, and then everybody be okay with it. Just like me, my history is as African and indigenous as you could make it. My upbringing is as poor and as oppressed as the average hood fella. You know what I mean? And yet when it's time to show and prove whether I'm the true and living God, then I'm right there having to do it again. You see? I think that the reality of showing and proving that we are the original man, right? And I'm using him as an example, okay? Because he wrote a good work, he put himself out there. So these are the things that happen when you get put out there, you know? If you want to teach, then you got to take all the fire, right? people ask, how is that man original? And so what are the things we do to show and prove that we're original, right? For some people, it's very easy, though. They just go, look, I'm African. I look blatantly African. I have, I have locks, and I have big lips, and, wide nose, and, whatever genetics test is going to tell me I come from some part of West Africa, blah, blah, right? It's not always that easy for someone else, though. You know what I'm saying? And this could be anybody. This could be even African Americans. I know that are very, very light skinned. They could be even lighter skinned than me, but they can have they'll have a parent that is easily noticed phenotypically as African American, right? And I see two things. I see the people that are blatantly easily defined as original people, lazy as hell, with showing and proving why they are the true and living God. I was this black man. I don't have to do any research. I don't have to do anything. You know what I mean? And so there's no drive. There's no detail. There's no work to be done, though. You know what I mean? As a student, as a builder, if you tend to be a poor righteous teacher, you should be content, but never satisfied with how you build it. But we also have to learn, though, what is this, understanding of what we call original? Does it get to stop? You know what I mean? I'll give you an example, right? When it comes to the idea of original with Italian people, and I have students that are Southern Italian, and they can show and prove the lineage, the historical lineage, though, of the Moors and all this kind of stuff, right? But we have a people that don't have a daily lifestyle or a daily immediate culture that is African or indigenous in some way. So it isn't as easy as, let's say, the Latino, or the different Latino countries, Spanish-speaking countries, what have you. And certainly not easy like the Latin Caribbean, because the Latin Caribbean is easily the most African of them all. Okay? So they prove a lineage that shows that they have come from a lineage of black blood, but then their phenotype is maybe nowhere near. Then they have to show family members that look original. Fair enough. Here's the twist. Because we know that phenotype, the way you look, as opposed to genotype, always shows different things. You know what I mean? It isn't always the marker. Okay? But now when we look at this, we are saying that there are original people that identify themselves as being the original man that literally have a history of also becoming white culturally, socially. In other words, they literally, whether we bear witness to them individually, whether they bear witness, not every Italian that's Southern Italian or Italian that gets this knowledge bears witness, says that they're the true and living God. Not all of them. It is up to that individual and his willingness to prove directly that lineage. However, what I'm saying is this: unlike any other type of people with original lineage, the Italian is the one that has spent time grafting himself culturally to be recognized as white passing, especially their history in the United States of America. Okay, it's very crucial. The histories of Columbus Day, all of these things are very crucial to that reality. Right? Phenotype means the way you look, features, right? Nose features, lips, skin shape, all of those. That's phenotype. Genotype is your genetics. Like, what are your actually genetics? You can't see somebody's genetics. You know what I mean? Okay? That's all that means, though. That's what I said. Right? Peace to Luke Cage. right? So what I'm saying is this, right? For some of the brothers are like Bone Reality and stuff like that, right? And I know what's going to be excellent, right? You don't get to be, if you take the mantle of communicating, then we're going to ask everyone to show and prove, you know what I mean? That what they are, and they have to take that time to show and prove. Because listen, if a people are genetically original, right? RP Reese, right? Bearing in mind, isn't that it's a slippery, all of this is a slippery slope. All of this is a slippery slope because we have been mixed with all type of, the devil has done his work. You know what I'm saying? We have lineages that are mixed. We have indigenous people, all these kind of things, right? Absolutely, Kareem, definitely. Definitely. That's where words like Chicano come from. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And I only mention Latino just to combine those peoples that speak in Spanish that have been conquered by a particular colonial, conqueror. Right? Now, when we study, the reason I'm saying this, right, is because everyone has to show and prove. And some people's lives, they will always have to show and prove. You know what I'm saying? Reese, you was talking about your enlightenment why king, though. Showing and proving themselves as the original man. It's just the way it is. But socially, I have always had more work to do proving that socially among ciphers than Y King will ever have. You know what I'm saying? Now both of us probably, whatever, it varies, have the same goal of teaching why man himself, this original man himself, is God. But as far as showing, proving whether I am original or he, a black seed, proving that he's original, it's clear, no matter what, I have had more work to do that socially in front of ciphers towards people than he would ever have. You know what I'm saying? And he knows this because we were doing this together. Like we were there together when he first, he saw, you know what I mean? Right? And the thing is, though, is I'm saying, though, I don't think that anyone that learns this, that has that duty or that extra weight to have to show and prove themselves at every turn, right? That they can take the opportunity to say, well, I've done enough and I've shown and proven. I don't think that ever ends. You know what I'm saying? And to the great builders that I have taught that happen to be Italian, that are true living God, that they deal with this knowledge, right? They, no matter what, they can never really stop having to show and prove. You know what I mean? Now this, though, right? To me, Reese, I don't consider a human genetically half original. Okay? That just doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? You either are one or the other. You know what I'm saying? And this is something that I started to really think about because it was something that freedom, known as Papa Wu, used to always build about. You know what I'm saying? To him, he considered the righteous mentality of people as always being God. You know what I mean? And sometimes to whites, he even included that, which I didn't go that far. But what I'm saying is this, right? For some of these, and I did my particular, one of my greatest students, he actually is Italian. And he actually shows and proves, but he's very introverted. He isn't the one to go out there and do all this stuff. Not everyone has the means to be able to go out there and teach in that way. But how will they find their forums? You know what I'm saying? And that's why as a teacher, you're trying to to help a student be a 5%er by helping them to find their own forums. Now, what do I consider half original? I don't consider the individual half original, but I consider socially that the individual will always live a half original life. It literally means, though, that he comes from a people where those particular phenotypical features that he has, where, in other words, they identify him without asking him, oh, he looks Italian, right? If they identify him as Italian, and a large percentage of the assumptions of him, they'll get that, right? They might get, oh, he's light-skinned Puerto Rican, this and that. But for the majority, it'll be that. That leads to what? Well, socially, if he gets recognized as Italian, that individual student, then he is going to live what we would have to say is a half original life, because he knows who he is, right? But the truth is that his people have already gone through the active devilishment collectively of passing. You see what I'm saying? And you cannot hold that against to the individual. You have to look deeper than the surface, because so many of original peoples are trying to do that every day. We could go throughout South America and the Latin Caribbean. We could go through the English Caribbean, and we will find people doing that. The truth is, why is light skin such an issue today among African Americans? Because they don't have after slavery, most of the people that were light skinned passed. Why is there such an issue between dark and light skin and their issues? Because among the African American community, because they don't have names that are ethnic. In other words, their last names. You got Jackson, Johnson, right? Unless you get a very black sounding name, your surname will be pretty much as American, Caucasian as possible. Passing constantly happens in all of the original communities that are affected by colonialism in the Western world. That's a fact. You know what I mean? So when we have an entire group that has successfully passed, it doesn't mean that their blood has been washed. It just means that it has been culturally accepted as something that is just a glaring thing. And it helps that the aspects of their culture, it is very difficult to find the African aspect. You remember, their most oldest African lineage is of the Moors. But remember, because of the Spanish Inquisition, which affected all of Europe, the African Moorish roots of all of the roots of culture that go back to the African Moors, the Black Moors, are no longer easily identifiable. You know what I mean? Go find a Puerto Rican and ask him what is the national instrument of the country. And no matter what, though, even though I think it should be a conga, it's not a conga, it's not a bongo, it's not a maraca, it's not a guiro. It's the cuatro. It's the small guitar, but they call it Spanish guitar, the cuatro, 4-string, 10 guitar, right? It's the national, and I'm giving an example because it's a way of kind of trying to over acknowledge the European root, but all string instruments, including the guitar, and especially those guitars, the cuatro, 4-string, and the tres, the 3-string that's in Cuba, are literally Moorish instruments that the Spaniards continued to use and brought with them because they had like all of our influence, though, the actual living culture of art and music and dance was from the original people. But that is almost unidentifiable. And if it's that unidentifiable among Boricuas, among Puerto Ricans, among Cubans cultures that embrace their African culture. But how many Cubans know that the actual tres is African as well? If we wanted to get technical now, right? No, they'll sincerely like, oh, that's part of the white stuff that we mesh together. You know what I mean? Saying all that, right? I think that whatever any student can do, if it be the best of his ability, then that's all you can ask. However, if people that are of that lineage and they can show and prove that they're original via their families, they look at their families, they can look at the phenotypes of my family, or look at the way my family looks, look at the, you know what I mean? And you can find it. You can find the nappy hair, you can find the darker shades, you know what I mean? And of course, you can find the literature of where the roots come from. Okay? The truth is that it won't have a lasting success for those people if there isn't a people that get knowledge of self from an area that is able to teach why they, from that reality, from that vantage point, are actually original. It'll always be incomplete. You know what I mean? This is something I learned particularly from being so-called Puerto Rican, being a Boricua, an original Afro-Indigenous original man. There have been plenty of other original people that are Boricua in this nation that have shown improvement. But the truth is that no one could really do it the way I did it. So I could say that the job was done already, or I could add on to it though, and in many ways help to further complete the goal. You know what I mean? And I'm saying that because I overtly am in this classroom though, and we have Born Reality is adding on. I don't know if he's in here now, right? And I'll contact him later personally. But these are the challenges. These are the challenges. Sometimes you can have all of these great ideas, right, to share. Now, but people want to hear, why do you think you're original man? Why are you the original man? You know what I mean? And I'm saying this because I've been teaching this so long, and someone could open that door and say, listen, why are you here? And why are you the original man? Why do you think you're the original man? And I don't just dismiss it. Sit down. How much time you got? You know what I mean? You want the short version or the long version? Right? Now, what I'm saying, Malik, here, you said, why do I have to show and prove harder? I'm talking about the particular aspect of saying I'm the original man. Okay? When someone sees a black seed, no one is saying that they are not African, that they are not black. Okay? But there are plenty of ciphers I could go to in the world that I say I'm a black man, and some people say, no, you're not. And the truth is because many people have spent time making sure that they not be as black as possible, that they get away with not being as black as possible. And by me doing that, I'm obstructing a privilege, what I consider not a privilege, but an allowance, that someone that is of a lighter shade can get by and get an allowance to live a little bit less oppressed, a little bit more white. You know what I mean? And the truth is the black seed doesn't have that issue. You know what I mean? When they have to show and prove that they're the original man, though, is because they are expected to connect their lineage historically and know that and things like that. But they're not being asked, are you the original man, though? Who's your father? Who's your mother? Where do you come from? What were the people that you come from, the immediate ethnicity that you come from? Are they African? Are they indigenous? I've never, ever seen that happen. So you get a darker West Indian, no one asks him to prove that whether he's Jamaican, Trinidadian, or whatever, that, oh, that's not real original. What culture did they live out in Trinidad? You will have never, ever heard that, ever. And you will never hear that. You know what I'm saying? And the truth is that some of the culture in a lot of the culture in Puerto Rico is blacker than a lot of the culture in a lot of the other islands. And that's a fact. I'm a little bit more light-skinned than it. So that's the work. That's the work that I mean. And what I'm saying for you, if you're a black seed, then you have to know why people are original. Why the black, brown, yellow original, but also it puts you in line to do more work. How am I original beyond just looking the role that is in that knowledge degree in the 1 and 10? Absolutely, kids. Yeah. Yes, that's us. You know, I mean, that's really what it is, you know. Right? That's what Sun says, the great sunset. 793, you said, I've been witnessing this exact back and forth with a tiny sector of YouTube on this type from a young man who says his father is Italian, Spaniard, and Boricua, tend to be self-righteous online. Why is this not moving? Okay. Yeah. And I'm saying that because what are the things that need to be taught by you being God? In other words, what is my role as a 5%er? You know, a lot of times, though, the reality that you come from is the teaching that needs to be taught itself. You know what I mean? There's your teaching. There's your teaching right there. And if you don't pay attention to it, then you could be skipping that. You know what I'm saying? And it's really important. It's really important. You know what I mean? You're just putting it out there. Not everybody, though, is going to be able to go out there and teach. But if not that way, then how? What forums? You know what I'm saying? Will you teach the teacher? Right? If you have children, though, will you be able to teach them to go out and teach? You know what I'm saying? What will be the expected role? Right? You know, what I find interesting is that just on a level of like, when we talk about duty, right? You really think that everybody got so many, you know, we think about like all the people that don't have, right? But if you take it from a different angle, did you ever think like, I got the knowledge of self? You realize how few people get the knowledge of self? How few people actually get it, right? That means that if there were so few people that get the knowledge of self, then that means that there is more potential for and demand for a unique teaching to come from you. It means that no matter how much you think everybody in the hood has it, there aren't in that many people with your particular experience. You know what I mean? And if you're not that go out there and teach a person, then you have to figure out what forms, because listen, these forms are only extending. There has to be ways that you can teach people. You know what I mean? Through the different mediums, through the works of art that you do, through everything. You know what I'm saying? This is important. You know what I mean? But one thing, and I was building with God, if mega about it, who is the original man? The more global that these teachings get, and the more that people have an ability to find some type of black lineage in their ancestry, the more that we have people that will say, listen, I'm the original man, I am this. You know what I mean? So what be the criteria? And the truth is that the criteria never was, is just who claims it. And who could show and prove it by some good history lessons and things like that. It is really going to be by those that can do those things, but actually create something, actually build something. That's really the truth of it. Who is going to actually go out there and be the God? It's not so much the cultural identity that wasn't stripped, Kenry. It's that the Spaniard did not take away the humanity as the English, especially, particularly with the United States slavery. The humanity of the slave was negated. So in America, they were just subhuman. That's such a big difference. Because now when slavery is older, the mentality infused for many of the Latin Caribbean I can speak of is that slavery is something that was hurtled against and is no longer, especially with Dominican Republic. But it is not something that defines who you are. That is not the same as America. You know, the United States, it's far more brutal. 793, you said it's a lesson in human behavior. What could and needs to be properly taught if they allow themselves to learn, and not just a messy clusterfuck of insults spewed in most savage way from a bunch of 85ers. Yeah. Just started. You know, just started. And I'm saying this, you know, like, because some people are like, oh, look, Sunni is, you know, anybody that says that they're God, he's going to let them. I have told people and have had to sit down people to teach them that they are not the true and living God. Whereas others, I have said, like, listen, if you teach that you're true and living God, there will be great difficulties ahead. You know what I'm saying? Either because their cultural, like with the Italian, their cultural history it's hard to find the African, because what we all have to understand is that the Moors, their entire history is very whitewashed. It has been whitewashed. So things that are very African Moorish, we don't even notice it. Like I said, with the guitars. The average person doesn't see the guitar as a black thing, and it's like the blackest thing ever. You know what I mean? Right? And why should someone who looks through their family phenotypes and finds these original people, they may not have the phenotype that looks typical of a black man, and yet they're willing to take on this mantle? How could you deny that? That is very difficult to deny. I don't deny it if they're willing to show and prove and live it out. Ultimately, who is going to teach them? Ultimately, who's going to give a context of all this? You know? And it can be very, very tiring. You have to have metal for this. Metal. METTLE. Absolutely, KJ. He's trying to be black. Yeah. Remember, the whole world, that includes Africans from Africa, every nation in Africa, everywhere, Latin America, South America, everywhere. The whole world wants to engage in the culture that's sold of the black man here in America. But everyone is taught that, no, you don't want to be like them. They don't, as a people, no, they don't do anything. They don't get shit done. They're lazy. You know what I mean? Definitely, definitely. And these things have to be unearthed because it didn't take that much time, for example, for the Italian to be whitewashed. If you do your history, they weren't considered white. You know, it's really only the once in the 20th century that this new phenomenon, you know, so it is quite intriguing, you know, so just like people have perceptions about the African American, the Puerto Rican, the Cuban, a lot of these misconceptions and lies and misperceptions and confusion, they're not as old as people think. You know what I mean? Some of the particulars are pretty new. You know what I mean? And they're not as, what I'm saying is that they're not as daunting a task as we sometimes think it is. You know? We have to, all of us have to take the challenge to build. All of us. Absolutely, Ken. The African isn't the only original black man. Absolutely. You know, this nation hasn't even come to teach the Asian. You know what I mean? So, I mean, and I don't mean just the Asian, like, you know, Chinese, Japanese, but really all of Asia. It hasn't really gone into the Indian communities and all the different Asian Pacific Islanders, you know, what have you. It's barely scratched the surface in teaching this knowledge of self. You know what I mean? And if we don't take the time to make these parameters and understand the complexities of phenotype, the complexities of whitewashed black culture that doesn't seem to be black, but actually is, then we'll fall into these pitfalls. We won't have all of the original people being taught correctly, right? And that's why the real duty is to realize that even if you think you're not the one, the truth is, if you got this knowledge and you're living with it, the truth is that you are really that one. I find this all intriguing, though. Kimmy, definitely Black, Brown, Yellow's original. The God IB piece. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to Dark Hymns. I don't know what happened to Dark Hymns class. I will try to get in contact with him. You know what I mean? Honestly, I have been so busy that I myself have not even taken notice that I haven't gotten notifications of his class. You know, so it's something that I didn't take notice of either. You know? If you notice, though, I haven't been writing my column for the Peace course. I haven't even put descriptions in the videos. And part of that is because I'm working on a project that needs to be done, well, you know, pretty much immediately because I want it to be released at a certain time. But and I think that many of you students will be interested in it too. But I have to finish it. I don't bear witness to even a red man. Red man is just a concoction, you know. So technically, red man would be original, but I don't bear witness to that. That you know, and red man is certainly not the indigenous man because that's misnomer. For the Native American, the red man is a term, a negative term that was actually used when they used to the whites with their families, with their young boys to go out scalping, and that's what the white man used to do. And they used to get paid for the amount of dead bodies that they could collect. So in order to transport these dead bodies swiftly and easily, so they could get payment, they just scalped the Indian's head, and that's what became red man because they're all red now, and they get paid by the scalp. And it was no women and children, but who could tell? They'll take any kind of scalp. And that's how they supported the terrorizing of the original man. And that term, the red man, you know what I mean? So Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz's Indigenous Peoples History of America is the source for that. Great book. Well, yellow man is derogatory term. When we say yellow seed. So it's a little bit different, even though who we're referring to. You know what I mean? So if we're talking about the original man, we're not. And you say black, brown, and yellow. If we teach the Asians correctly, they're not going to get. They wouldn't take it as offense because we're not talking about yellow, yellow in that sense. Of course, it's how you see red man. But I just give you a historical context, so that is the answer. There is no seeing history. You know, it's whether you know the history and whether you let it impact you in the way you see it. Oh, he said he's gonna. Reese, you're talking about Dark Kim. He said in his community tab. What is the community tab? I don't know what that is. You have to let me know. I don't know what that means. Peace, God. You traveling? That's peace, God. Likewise, God. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, that's peace. I'm glad that you did an analysis to that. Yeah, I mean, I was asking you about the community tab, so it makes sense that I wouldn't know what the hell it is. Right? Use it. Uh, yes, peace. Ah, okay, okay. That's peace 793. Yeah, I haven't used it. Yeah. Okay. he was he was watching the video of me telling the students not to be obese. Um, I have taught people that have been obese, obviously. You know what I mean? I don't do that. I don't want to kick them out. But if they're really gonna learn from me though, then they're gonna have to know that, especially, like, that they have to be as healthy as they can. You know what I mean? And I know how difficult it is. You know what I'm saying? Um, and the issues that come about with that. So it's not like I'm exiling people and stuff like that, because every single student that you get has some type of problem that is, to put it in with a pun, immense. You know what I mean? You know, they have to have that as a goal. They have to realize that that is one of the things they have to deal with. You know what I mean? I'm not with all that, like, normalize shit that is not healthy for you. We're not going to normalize shit that is not healthy. You know, the truth is that that this whole thing about normalizing things is like, we're always in a state of improvement, and it's okay to be sparked and to be disappointed and to be fired up by where you need to get going. Where do you want to go with your training? Where do you want to go with your studies, and be fired up? I don't know why this isn't used as motivation and to get your intensity up, you know? But instead, we're trying to always normalize things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's not the way to go. I understand that most people in their millennial speak, are trying to figure out, how to do things a more humane way. Um, But a lot of the things that we got into, a lot of the things that we do wrong, have not gotten that way in any kind of humane way. And so they need to be attacked as viciously as they were thrust upon us, you know? Otherwise it won't be achieved. I agree, IB. I agree. It's always a crucial part of this. In fact, I think it was the last class I was going into the health protocol, you know, and I forgot to mention that, you know, if there were any things that I left out or anything like that, for people to ask me the questions, it's no problem. There's no question you'll ask me here that's out of context, like wasn't part of like where I was going with it, you know. Right. That whole concept of fat shaming, though, that doesn't really help the person lose weight. You know what I'm saying? And if I've had a student that's obese in a building, though, it'd be a thing where I'm gonna pull them aside. I'm not gonna say it to them. You know what I mean? Honestly, I haven't met too many people that are. How many letters is that? You know, all that other shit. LGBTQIA plus. Yeah. Shit sounds like shit's turning into an equation. You know what I mean? Equation. You know. I just find it like ironic that people are identifying themselves by what they feel like as opposed to what they are, and then under the guise that they can feel like something else any other time that they want. It says everything you need to know. You know, so I don't get too many people like that. I really don't. I gotta say, I don't get people like that asking for the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Asking for the knowledge. You know? Sheesh. LGBTQIAAP. That's not bananas right there. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. How could someone say that they are true living and their identity is based on what they feel like doing every other day? You know? How can someone say that the reality of how life is created and how leaders in this creation, how can that be how can a seeker of that knowledge of self exist if they are trying to equalize every other feeling and identity with that which creates all life? How? Because it's just not. And the truth is that we have so many other things, so that the foods that we're actually eating are altering the brain chemistry to make actual, you know, we've already done studies where animals actually think that they are the wrong gender that they actually are, right? So animals that are actually gendered male or gendered female are actually behaving otherwise. And it's only when they're exposed to these particular chemicals. And then people say they are born a certain way. But when you were born is not when you started existing. Because you're already being impacted by everything that was happening in the womb. And the truth is you are impacted even by the quality of the sperm of which you were derived from, or derived yourself from. If I get students that are of that, and they bear witness to one of those markings, identities, that's the only thing I could tell them. You know what I mean? And I do, and I would. It doesn't happen often, you know. And trust though, I think that over the years, I have taught students that have advocated, you know, for that, even though they said that they weren't any of that, but they have advocated for that. And the truth is that we're the 5% though. We don't advocate against anyone. You know what I mean? But it's funny that people could claim stuff and they don't get to show and prove it. So they'd always be in conflict with us, you know? They don't get to show and prove. So how could they claim stuff? You know? But yeah, that hasn't come up, you know what I mean? People aren't really asking me about that stuff. And I don't get students that overtly ask that. Of course, I get many people that have the knowledge that ask me about it. And that's pretty much what I say. Hmm. Peace to God. And earlier in the class, I did speak about this concept of people taking up a lot of things that we spoke about earlier in the day. You know what I mean? And that the truth of whatever your particular reality is, when you get this knowledge of self, part of the responsibility, the duty of being a 5%er is to teach the lesson that comes out of your reality. And you don't have the option of just getting tired of teaching it. You know what I'm saying? I've taught it for this long, and somebody could walk in and say, hey, you're a spick. You're not the original man. And I have to do it all over again. You know what I mean? I think the most difficult thing about teaching is that people don't want to teach again. You know what I mean? And if they teach again, though, they expect it to be more successful than the last time they taught the same thing. That doesn't work that way. You know what I'm saying? Teaching doesn't work that way. And people, you lose their resolve when that doesn't keep happening that way. You know, I think that's a big problem too. You know, and I also spoke about this concept of who is the original man, and the examples of the Italians. How some of the 5%ers in this nation are Italian, and they don't see themselves as God, and some of them do see themselves as God. There's both, you know. And that regardless to whom or what, though, they were always having to prove who they are. They cannot waver in that labor. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it is. You know what I mean? And it's funny. You know, it's funny because you go, oh, well, you know, it's not fair. I have to keep always build, you know, but we're not the ones that come from a history of a people that have successfully whitewashed. You know what I'm saying? So these are the obstacles. Just like the mental slavery, though, the massive oppression. That's just what the African American has to deal with. That's just the way it is. You know what I mean? I don't think I could really define what was the most enlightened thing I learned. You know what I mean? I can't. That's right? The enlightened thing. You know? Yeah. Because I don't see enlightenment as one particular moment. I do see it as a process, a never-ending process, which is very similar to the way many of the Sufic thought is, as they envision enlightenment, and many of the Zen, much of Zen Buddhist thought. But please, it's a very hard question. You know what I mean? And depending on who taught them as well. Yeah, you know what I mean? You get tired of teaching? You get tired of showing and proving your existence? Well, you only got here to the school. This school only exists because people are taking our existence from us. So how could you get tired? Because if we got tired, nobody else would have it. If they got tired, I wouldn't have had it. You know what I'm saying? So, right? The surprising realization. I am asking me this after 2 decades later, it is very difficult to surprise me. I don't get surprised too much. So it's hard to remember that what I was very surprised about no longer surprises me anymore. You know what I'm saying? You know? There are things that endlessly disappoint me. You know what I'm saying? But there are not things that surprise me, unfortunately. Or fortunately. I don't know if that's good or bad. You know what I mean? But a realization, you know what I mean? Realization is like many realizations that people get in all types of fields. You know what I mean? Is that, and I describe it here. I've said this many times. I don't know if people remember, but my week for me ends after this class finishes. This is the end of the week for me. So when this class ends, I start all over as if they know. I never know enough. I have not done enough, and I must do more. You know what I mean? And the biggest realization is that to be the true and living God is to be comfortable in that reality. You always have to create. You are always creating. And the thing is, you will always have to create. This universe is not created. It is also always in creation, because the creator is always creating. None of this universe is ever finished. And so you are always having to do. That's the beauty of it. Mom or dad. I've taught people that their mom is black only. I've taught people that their father is black only. It's really irrelevant to me. You know what I mean? It's really irrelevant to me. You know? If they're the original man, though, it doesn't matter which of the mom or dad was or anything like that. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. You said example, where one person will say you are, what your father is, and they'll say who you are, whatever your mom is. And Bob Marley was Bob Marley like his father? You know? And people I've taught like Bronze Nazareth, built with like Kevlar 7, right? Remembered in perfection. Their mother is white and their father is black. But both of their parents are good people. You know what I'm saying? And they're original black men. And they learned. He studied. Kevlar studied. And he wasn't getting the knowledge himself because his mom was a devil or something like that. No, he's getting knowledge because he's the original man. And it didn't take away from the love for his mom, and it didn't take away or falsely elevate the love for his father. It's what he is, and so he learned. You know what I mean? Right? And obviously, Rome, obviously, yeah, definitely. Obviously, Bob Marley was not his father. Yeah, definitely not. You know, Reese. You know, why King is your line. You know, Bob Marley used to be the example that Savior Knowledge used to bring up with this question. That's why I mentioned Bob Marley. You know, and for Savior Knowledge, he used to always ruminate about this concept that the mother's breast milk, you know, that it could repair the genetic, you know, whatever damage, it could epigenetically, really, that's what he was saying, epigenetically heal and overcome any of the weakness that would lead to devilish men. You know what I mean? So that's important. The thing about humanity is that they are so much greater than the sum of their parts, though. And that's why sometimes when we judge who's original, who's not, we're forgetting too that all of humanity is greater than the sum of their parts. That's why the babies are the greatest, though. The child is not just man, mother, and father. They end up being greater than the sum of their parts. You know what I mean? And I'm honored from. If you said it, one of the things I mentioned to Sunez earlier is that you will always find the original man somewhere in anyone's lineage, some further than others. Right. So it's how some people will have to go very far back or densely, you know what I'm saying? Or not. Or they will just use some phenotypical notes. You know, oh, he's got more kinky hair, or he's darker, so that's, you know what I mean? And then also, you know, but then the thing is this, how much will they live it out? How will they live it out? This is crucial. Are they greater than the sum of their parts? You know? But VC realm with that, I don't bear witness to one reality greater than the other. You know what I mean? I think sometimes with parents, sometimes the mother, sometimes the father is the dominant. You know what I mean? And we respect it that way, you know? Now I'm the true and living God, so I know that my daughters are original just because of me, and they don't need nobody else. You know? They happen to be 100% original, you know? But they be like that anyway. I'm the only thing that mattered with that. Yeah. And if we go through, I'm sure if we go through the lineage of that firstborn in Seattle, through the mother's side, I'm sure we'll find original people in there. And like I said, Italian passing for white doesn't mean that they don't have any black reality. It means that it was actually thrown under the rug. And like I said, much of their reality is from the Moors, and the Moors are a whitewashed reality of blackness that even we don't know. And that's why I gave the example, the perfect example of the guitar. Latin Caribbean be playing with them guitars, and they think it's their Spanish European lineage, and it's just a different black instrument, right? African Americans are almost never taught that the banjo is an African instrument. Right? Yeah, and then you have the reverse, Barack Obama and his parents. Yeah, but Barack Obama's the original man. There's no way around that. You know what I mean? By the way, his book is very long, it's quite intriguing, very interesting. I haven't finished it yet, though. Yeah, definitely, yeah. That's P.E.A.C.E. Yeah, he told you that too. Yeah. But, he taught me, so I was gonna, that's always something I saw. Yeah, a half original existence, and that's not something that I just said, but it's something that I told my students, you know what I mean? And I think that the students so let's say in this case, we're talking about Italians, because you're not going to get this with Irish and all like that and things like that, you know what I mean? Because they're not original. But a Sicilian, a Southern Italian student, many of them have original blood, and they could trace it, you know what I mean? Now, the half original existence, I mean, they have passed, you know what I mean? They actually have passed, so it's, Now, VC Realm, you get many different spins on the question, but, it's like, it's a case study shit. You know what I'm saying? It's case study shit. Because humanity, all the babies are the best part. The babies are always a greater sum of their parts. They're like the perfect record. You know what I mean? You know how you get records where, like, nobody was ever that good by themselves, but they're so much greater together. You know what I mean? That's what it is. I figure whoever culture you're around and partaking says a lot. It does. It definitely does. So when a half original, quote unquote, live out the Caucasian lifestyle, is he shown no longer original? Well, in their mindset, they have grafted themselves out. Now, the truth is, a lot of original people do that. Original people do that all the time. A large, massive chunk of African American history is African Americans passing for white. That's an absolute fact. And it still happens. And indeed, yes, the Italians had to work hard to be considered white. There's a lot of books on that too. And the history of Columbus Day literally is one of the major things that helped achieve the goal, the establishment of it. There's a good New York Times article about it a couple of years ago. Oh, that Ant documentary. You know what's funny? I never finished it. I got to finish it. I forgot to finish it. Raul said, thank you. You're welcome. I've heard people making excuses there was slavery all over the world, so wow, controversy around America's slavery to humanity. Yeah, that's total. Yeah, it's total trash. It's total trash. slavery existed before the transatlantic slave trade. Slavery did not exist until white people are here in this world. White people engaged in slavery as a way of debt relief. One was, serfdom and all of those concepts are forms of slavery in different manners. However, slavery was a particular situation you were in, not a reality of what you are. It's only with the transatlantic slave trade and the US particularly that hits that peak where they indoctrinate the slave as a subhuman individual. And that's beyond anything in the Latin Caribbean, in the English Caribbean, and those places were hard. And in South America, it's not the same. It is not the same. You know what I mean? And that's why it's so important, because the levels of subhumanity is something that is not really acknowledged. And so because of that, it could be furthered. And it continues to be furthered in very subtle means. We see politicians. What's this fucking guy? The chicken neck. Forget his fucking name. Where they kind of say, "Oh, we gave you a black president." They tell you. They tell you. And the transatlantic slave trade is certainly a peak, because it does what capitalism was trying to do from the get. It was trying to find and exploit the perfect capital asset. You know what I mean? And the black mind, then the black body is the perfect asset to exploit. That's a P.E.A.C.E lineage, 793. That's P.E.A.C.E. Indeed. There's a lot of diversity there. In these changing times, in these global times, that's peace, God. That's peace. Okay. And because I got a text from Born Reality, and I know he's listening, and some of the things I shared for him particularly, we need brothers like him. We need brothers that know how to do it. Find the forums that you can build and create in. Some people can't, right? But I mentioned Born Reality because he gave me a grand essay. You know what I mean? And so it really is his responsibility to also engage in teaching the most simple questions that arise when people see him. You know what I'm saying? Why are you original? Sometimes we have all of these other things that we want to share, but sometimes that's what people want to know. You know what I mean? Like I was telling him, there were so many things that I wanted to build about, but I knew that when I got the knowledge, though, the most important thing is I have to show and prove that I'm original and give myself a proof of context at any moment. That's true, Reese. Every black seed I've ever, I always challenge him to go further, to go deeper, to be able to prove that you're the original man, without just saying, "Well, look at the degree and look at me." You know what I mean? And go deeper than that, because we also know that the Asiatic black man is a much broader reality, right? Now, when we talk about culture and language, the majority, if people, Mitch McConnell, thank you. Yes, that bastard, But that was the devil. Thank you, 793. When you look at people with African culture in their that actively engage in aspects of African culture and that are embedded in their culture and things like that, right? Those are clear markers, you know what I'm saying? To the bloodline, you know what I mean? In the later dynasties, right? After the Greek and after they're not really the powerhouse that they were, original people did enslave other original people. The context that gets confused is that they make it that slaves built pyramids and shit. You know what I mean? Which is not true. You know what I mean? People get paid and have great jobs in the union. They can't even build a pyramid. And yes, Akemi, that's a good point. That the African American had to be consistent, convinced that they were black at one time too. But it's really all facade, though. You know what I'm saying? That's denial. That's not necessarily ignorance of. You know, so you're not going, hey, you're actually black. Look at your lineage and things like that. That's not really the case. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different. You know what I mean? But these are all different levels. And if we don't start to get aware of who the original people are, what are the different realities, what are the different circumstances, we're not really going to be able to build in this world community where we're supposed to be taking the knowledge to. We're just going to be able to build in these small little ciphers. And that's insufficient. That's not really good enough. You know what I mean? Just begun. Yeah, and they stood for more than 6,000 years too. You know. But the truth is that original people did enslave other original people. There is conquering of other people, and there there is literature that suggests warfare between original people. You know what I mean? All right, we got about 20 minutes left. So any questions that you have, anything that you want me to build on, anything that I didn't say correctly, take a moment. I want to make sure things are proper in the school. So, any questions about anything? Let's see what we have. Yeah, visions of utopia. Yeah, I'm sure that. See, I don't denounce that there are things that are really wonderful and that they could have been really great and even much greater than what we know now. You know what I'm saying? But that concept of utopia, where it's the ultimate. That's something I don't bear witness to. You know? Certainly something that I think is exaggerated. Remember, the devil was made, but the devil is an aspect of separation. You know?
Oh, peace, huh?
Peace to the God. Indeed. Any books on the sun or plus degrees you have, Sunez? I thought I sent you some plus lessons and stuff. Right now, Malito, I would say with the books I gave you, start. You know, they need to get read. Definitely my honor. You know. Okay. Well, that wasn't. Let's see what we have here. Um, sometimes the when people say that race is a construct, I think of it more sometimes as a good definition. Because it almost negates, like, as if racism wouldn't exist. So if they didn't label themselves as superior, I mean, they're already doing that. You know what I mean? Because they already realized that the real capital, the real asset that they could exploit and needed to exploit had to be from our minds, our reality. So, it's like, at what age do you stop considering someone a young god? Honestly, I don't call anybody that's in there, once they're like past like 23 or something, I don't really call them young god. Now that I'm overtly thinking about the question, you know? That's peace, peace. Peace to the God. All right, just remember the email, contact me. Again, like Raul did, if you emailed me and I haven't responded, just put it to the top. Forward it to me again. That way I can know how late I am, all that. All right. That's peace, God. It's an honor. It's an honor, you know. One of the principles that we speak about, and to leave you with this, one of the principles that we speak about is honor. You know what I'm saying? What is it then? In the mathematics, what is honor? You know what I mean? What would it be? How would you describe it mathematically to make, how is it a reality? See? And now something has been done for you that has been useful. And then now you honor it though. See? These are, it is the reality of equality. You see? As an understanding is given, an understanding can develop, and that borns equality. See? And that's the thing. How do we put these principles and see them as mathematical? And then you know what are the things that you have to do. Right? How these things interact, how they interplay. See? Can we take the things that we think are true and put them as principles in supreme mathematics? Can we describe those things that we must do? And just like when we train in the martial arts, we're thinking of scenarios that we will have to fight our way out of. What would be the principles? What would be the way to engage? It's the same thing. Absolutely. So as you go through your studies and you start to make these builds, we make all these builds about mathematics. Are we looking at actual just simple principles that we keep calling morals and ethics? You know what I mean? At what point does a particular moral and a particular ethic become more than just situational and becomes a foundation that would be knowledge? You see? And what type of reality of moral, right, will always be coupled with an understanding, right, with a particular purpose and become the culture. Right? How does this happen? We have to get very particular. Situations that you live by, situations that you respond, right? Just these things here, knowing how we define ourselves is also predicated on how we define other people, right? So these are all things that we have to actually try to work to make as concrete as possible, or else this thing will stay abstract and be as confusing as ever. Flooding the ports with half originals? I don't know what you mean by that though. All right. We are at the end of this class session. If anybody has any questions, it all goes down to supreme mathematics. You know what I mean? Those are your core forms. It's how you'll fight. You know what I mean? But DC realm, Germans and Irish aren't half originals, okay? Those are just white people. So they wouldn't be half original. All right, with that said, we're at this 10 o'clock moment here, so I am going to let all of you go. Again, email me, contact me however you can. If you have my number, you text me, whatever you need. If you emailed me and I didn't respond, then assume that I didn't see it, right? Or that I missed it, okay? And get back to it, right? All right. So with that, I say peace to the gods and earths. Build, create. All right. And get that knowledge of self the right way. Peace.